Hello and welcome to Hardcast, where we finally put the latest run of Gilad Anipada to rest. I'm Humphrey Erm.
And my name is Chris.
Lifeline. Give me Wrath of the Eternal Warrior, Volume 3, Deal with a Death.
Issue 11. Gilad talks Eric into killing him, which he does with some hesitation. Gilad arrives in his paradise as per usual, but he's given a talking to for being a horrible husband and father. His son has left the paradise and is somewhere in hell. Gilad goes after him, but instead of fighting the monsters awaiting him, he surrenders himself to them and asks them to bring them to Humongous.
First and foremost, I know we get to see the cover later again, but the volume cover...
Which one is that? Is that the one with the snow?
I don't know about snow, but it's just a blank background and all the dead people from...
Or like the white, yeah.
No, it just like perfectly encapsulates the character. So cool.
Yeah, killing all these people and just running through them.
I'm sure they deserved it.
Oh yeah, they're all soldiers, aren't they?
It comes with the job description.
Right.
But yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, I just love this whole interaction with Auric.
Yeah, I guess we've seen it a couple of times with this kind of, with the person who is immortal or something like that. You know, kind of like the whole thing, like, you have to kill me, or you have to injure me, you have to shoot me.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This is such a, superhero comic thing to do.
Yeah, of course.
No, but it's just so, again, I'm fine with, the whole him being immortal and stuff and the rules. But it just sounds so silly to have it be, no, I'll be fine.
Right.
So kill me, no, I'll be fine. And the fact it makes sense, both know that Gilad is not a crazy person. This is a legitimate thing to ask for in this universe, on his level. And it's just, I was laughing during this whole exchange.
Were you actually laughing, or?
Yes, yeah, not the loud exhale of air. I was actually chuckling, lying here in bed.
Oh God.
I don't know, just so funny. Yes. To kill me, yes, but maybe not forever. I'll try to come back. It's just like, what?
I don't know. I still don't have that comedic timing of, I don't know. I'm still in one of those points where I don't feel like comics can do comedy in that way.
At least not in this kind of manner, since, I know we've discussed this before regarding comic strips and one-panel gags.
Right.
So, but yeah, telling it in a larger narrative like this is a bit trickier.
Yeah, the quips kind of fall flat for me just.
But this too, I know we don't want to go into the whole, with the potential, what's called the cinematic universe stuff. But this too is something, if they can have these really charismatic actors, this is a scene I'd love to see on the big screen as well. So, we don't quite have an MCU comparison of these characters, at least with the whole, immortality thing. But I could just see something I don't know, something like Captain America asking Thor to kill him or something.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I have this amulet that will take me back. So, but yeah, that was, simple opening, and it also went through that whole thing we were discussing last time in the last volume regarding the whole idea of him killing himself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair concern. Especially if it would then be that, no, this might be a breaking the rules or something.
Exactly, which was my point last time.
In a sense, this was an assisted suicide, but who knows? I don't know how the Earth, rates these things.
You're right.
So, but yeah, what am I trying to say? These 3 volumes have been in a sense, if we ignore the montage of what's called Volume 2, with him stuck in the labyrinth. This has been this has been sort of a short segment, this entire run, so to speak. If you get what I mean.
I don't. What do you mean with a short segment?
Well, yes, time-wise, sure, there's been montages. Maybe it's not so much the time, but more environment. Because we've kind of just been in paradise.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. There's something that I feel of saying, but I don't think I have the words for it.
Well, because if you're saying that it hasn't been a long time since his death and him now talking to Arik, then you're wrong, because didn't it mention even somehow in Volume 2 how many times he tried to get out of the labyrinth?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm assuming it was months or something, but I think what you're thinking is just the content has been very small. Kind of there hasn't been a lot of big set pieces.
Well, I think I think now that I've had a little thought about it, I think it's more that it is this one story rather than each issue necessarily being a totally different adventure.
You mean each volume?
Because this has all been sort of...
Don't you mean each volume?
Yeah, but all 3 volumes have in some way revolved around the concept of him, remaining dead inside his paradise, and then the concept of coming back to life. Rather than being okay, the first volume was about this, then the next volume's about this, with some kind of thread connecting. But as we'll see with the last issue, this really sort of just, ties up most loose ends.
Which I kind of like the way that they do that. It's just that you have... we've always had these kind of things where, Spider-Man has come back in different universes, like the Amazing Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, Uncanny, what is that? I don't know. Something. There's been different Spider-Mans everywhere. And just like here where we have these volumes of, the Eternal Warrior, we have the wrath of the Eternal Warrior. And I feel like I kind of like this method of telling comics a little bit more, just because you have okay, this is the wrath of the Eternal Warrior arc, and it goes for 3 volumes. And then whatever comes after that will be the of the Eternal Warrior arc, which would then also go for 2 to 3 volumes. That's what I mean. You have these, you have these arcs that have a different title, so that when you want to pick up another Eternal Warrior comic, you can go by the arc instead of having to know what has been happening. So basically at the beginning of each arc, you kind of know, all you need to know basically is, okay, what kind of happened in the last arc and who the Eternal Warrior is. So anyone could pick up a Spider-Man if it started off as The Adventures of Spider-Man, for example, whatever. And you could just read those 3 to 4 volumes and not have to be overcome by this whole, again, I just feel like one of the worst things is to have, Eternal Warrior issue 150. Because if I, as a consumer who doesn't read comics a lot, see something like issue 150, I'm I don't even want to start here. As much as people will say, oh, but 132 is a great jumping on point, I'd be no, there's 132 issues that I'm never going to get to. And so I feel like if you kind of create these, areas of interest that you can just kind of hone in on, you might even see better sales. And I feel like that's something that you could do. As I've just been reading this Wrath of the Eternal Warrior arc, I can just be look, I read volume 1, 2, and 3, perfect. and I'm satisfied. And then I can just wait until I feel like reading comics again. Then I can look, okay, well, what's the next arc that I'd be interested in? Oh, look, here's one for 3 volumes. That's good. Let me buy that and let me read that. So there was my monologue for the episode.
Yeah, no, what's called? That's honestly, I guess, a good take in that sense. Not that I'm the arbiter of what's a good and a bad take. So, but I guess that's kind of the nice thing, because it kind of does. We kind of discussed this before as well, with how certain volumes kind of are like different parts of like a movie act. You know, how like, oh yeah, this volume really is like the first act of like a movie, or even within one volume, usually, how it's split up like that.
Yeah, it's the issues. A volume is usually one movie we've kind of gone to.
Exactly. So, but here again, it is like this one. I guess my idea is more like if you compare, for example, with the first run of Archer and Armstrong as an example. Sure, we have this concept about the sect, you know, in the background. But that's more of like the setting of the series, more than specifically, oh, it's always about that. Because, you know, the first volume is like the origin, how they meet up and become friends. Second volume is about the Eternal Warrior and the Geomancer. Third volume is the whole thing about going to the far, far away. And while there are themes here, you know, like they have like different places, especially with the flashbacks in volume 2. It's just very, I don't know. This really felt like one big story rather than 3 smaller stories. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Again, not that it's good or bad or better or worse. It really stood out to me in that sense because, yeah, it was just very like prominent, I felt, in terms of themes and art and just the way it's presented. But yeah, I mean, any thoughts on the issue itself, or is it just sort of like another, you know, setup issue?
Yeah, I feel like it's more of a setup issue. I mean, it's not really that interesting. What happens in that sense is just pretty much a recap at the beginning, which is kind of, I mean, it's kind of boring to see him want to get himself killed because it's just more or less explaining kind of what we had in the previous issue or previous volume. And then it's just him kind of giving up. I mean, it's pretty much, this issue is pretty much just giving us information that we already knew, and giving that information to other characters. I mean, it's just like, you know, his first wife or whatever she is, telling him about what his son has done, which we already knew. So really, there's nothing new in this issue. It's pretty boring, actually.
That is true. It's always a bit tricky when it's not a surprise for the audience, but it is for the protagonist. I mean, it can work, of course, if it's, you know, the whole suspense thing, you know, the dramatic irony. But in this case, there wasn't really much about that besides him being like, oh, I'm finally going to be able to bond with my son. But it's like, yeah, we already know what's going to happen. And so, but either way, I mean, it's kind of a cool setup. And of course, the usual thing about, you know, caring more about his children than himself, you know, with offering himself.
But then again, we know that he wasn't actually planning on completely surrendering himself. He was just planning on having an audience with, you know, Humongous.
Yeah, no, of course, which makes sense. But still, you know, I don't know, it's something, in a way, it's kind of very Batman-esque, I feel, in terms of, I mean, I know he has, you could see from, I mean, we've seen from his prior endeavors, as well as, you know, seeing him break that tree with his bare fists.
Yeah.
So we do know he has some form of enhanced strength. It's not merely immortality that is his power. But either way, it still kind of feels.
Well, I just think he's pretty strong.
I'd say it has to be a little bit. I mean, maybe it could be kind of part of his immortality, because he does have a healing factor, but once it goes too far, he has to go to paradise.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if he has a healing factor, then, his muscles must be really strong.
Like that, yeah. I don't mean something like Superman with his tactile telekinesis. Such a cop-out.
Nerd.
So, but yeah, I don't know, just a cool thing. Issue 12. Gilad goes through the motions and is taken and tortured by Humongous' horde, taunted by their leader. Once he's chased everyone away, though, he lets Gilad go and offers him a deal, explaining that another demon, called the Pale Herder, is the one who has Kalim. If he manages to kill him, he'll let Gilad pass through unmolested in the future. Gilad arrives at the salt dunes and kills a demon, getting the whole army's attention. I just love lore and world building. Always fun.
Yeah. I feel as long as, I don't know. I mean, yeah, world building is fun because you get to see, like, you get the history and stuff like that, but I do want stuff to kind of happen, and I guess that's just something that you just don't get in comics because you have to. Again, I'm just saying that if I had to read this issue on my own and I was looking forward to a good issue, I'd be a little bit disappointed just because it was like, okay, nothing happened really.
True.
You know what I mean? Yeah, as a volume, it's fine because you have that area where you're like, okay, now here comes the exposition, here comes the talking that I need for the story. But as a single issue, I'd be like, okay, now we're back at this point where I have to wait for another week or another month for the cool stuff. I mean, it's a little bit interesting how this whole thing happened. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the backstory is kind of unnecessary. Like who they were and stuff like that. I mean, it's just like, it's just a huge giant dude that hates him. It's all I needed, really, because I guess the problem that one of the things you don't know with comics is that are they going to be important in the future?
Well, true. Well, if nothing else, maybe a new writer will like the character and bring him back, or
right. And I mean, I feel like with this, it's just. I mean, of course, they said that he's not necessarily dead, even though he brought his head at the end of the issue. I guess spoiler alert. After the fact, but I mean, like, it just feels kind of unnecessary to say any more than, oh, he hates us,
especially when these are literal demons as well. Like, it's not like, I mean, nobody, like, you don't quite need, these are demons. We kind of get it, they're evil, or at least immoral.
Right. I mean, you don't necessarily need to know, like, if there's I mean, we can kind of get it. I mean, he is a king or kind of wants to be a king. The other guy is a king and he wants his rule. I mean, we get that. We don't need to have an explanation of how he's weird and a monstrosity and had to be, kicked out of the normal looking demon things. It's just I don't know. It just feels. I think he's evil enough because he kidnapped Gilad's son and is using him as a flag. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of unnecessary and kind of filling pages.
True.
With this kind of backstory that we didn't really need.
True, but looking at the volume as a whole, I mean, again, not that that's an excuse that, we have to fill, 4 issues for a volume. But looking at if we just take the full story, I guess it was necessary in the sense because there's not really much else to add unless you add something totally new.
Yeah. So
I gotta say though, what's called Humongous is quite a dick. I mean, they don't really say much about like what he's done. The Pale Herder. Like, they basically just seem to not like him because he's like deformed. Yeah. There is a hierarchy here, and there's no place for such a malformed and foul thing. Like, what a dick. can help it that he's like all tumor-filled arms and whatnot. Like, it's one thing if it was like even he was like, grow like cruel or mean or something. Like, it reminds me of a character from DC Comics. The whole Fourth World, with the new gods and all that.
Nope.
Well, Darkseid and all that.
Nope.
But Darkseid.
Yeah, but I don't know what all that means.
Oh, okay, well, he's one of the new gods, and it's the whole thing between these two planets and stuff. But you know how evil Darkseid is. He's like the most evil character in DC.
All right.
Well, there's this one character who I have like the first issue of because I managed to get a hold of a copy by pure chance in Viborg in Denmark. But there's this other like god called Sleaze, who even Darkseid thought was too, like his name implied, sleazy. So he banished him to Earth. But the idea was that he was like, in comparison, he was like a lot more petty and disgusting, and yeah, no one liked him.
Okay.
But we get the explanation and we get to see it. In this case here, he doesn't seem to do anything worse than Humongous did.
Except that he's also disgusting.
Exactly. Which again, I guess,
It's fair.
I guess that's
fair.
I guess that's the standards. Even among demons, there must be standards. And also the fact that he's, man, what an asshole, Pale Herder. He refuses to accept his lot. I don't know. Again, I'm not going through a whole thing here. Like, oh, poor Pale Herder. He did nothing wrong. But it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I guess it's the theme of Valiant, how everyone's an asshole. But yeah, I always like these kinds of things in general, the enemy mine kind of thing. Considering, when we read like the first volume and it was just a whole gauntlet of going through this army and ending up with him defeating Humongous. And then second volume, a whole, montage of him doing it over and over again. And now just this point where it's like, hey, help me out. It's always fun. Much like it when, like, the bad guy and the good guy have, like, a truce and help each other.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends. I felt like this was also kind of, how would you say it? Kind of cheap with the way that it was done. Because like, in some sense, there was no truce between them. It was more kind of like, I guess I'm going to walk back on my little statement of it being cheap, because again, it is in some sense interesting that it's not really a truce between them. It's more like Humongous is using Gilad, because what does he have to lose? And even at the end of the volume, he does say to Gilad that their truce will not be forever. So in some sense, it is kind of a cop-out just to tell the story. But I could also, I'm just thinking like it could have all happened without Humongous. Like Gilad could have also just found out from someone that this herder has his son and not Humongous, and he could have just gone off on his own.
He could have escaped.
Because it's not like Humongous came along.
That's true. Yeah, he could have escaped on his own, and heck, maybe you could have gotten them to like kill each other or something.
Exactly. So I'm thinking like, if anything, Humongous used Gilad, because I'm not saying that Humongous couldn't have defeated Herder, but I feel like it is a safer bet for him to just be like, let me unleash this warrior on my enemy so I don't have to do anything and I won't lose my men. Let's just let's have Gilad go and do as much damage as he can. And then later, when he's weakened, worst case, when he's weakened, I'll go attack. That's how I see it.
Yeah, Gilad himself brings it up. In terms of And how do I know that you didn't, bait him to get Caleb just so I could do this for you? And but again, either way, he has to.
It's just a plot device. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, this is another gauntlet for him. This has basically been part of the themes of this whole run as well. Everything has been like one long battle, so to speak. Not one long battle, but it's all about this like thing he has to struggle with for long distances, so to speak.
Yeah, it's all about his battle with his wrath.
Yeah, that's also part of the thing. I was doing the whole Peter Griffin thing. He said it. I mean, they didn't say the wrath of the Eternal Warrior, I think, but they were bringing up the word wrath a lot.
Like at the end when they were like, you helped me release my wrath.
Yeah, it almost felt, I don't know. I don't know what to compare it to.
It felt very corny.
Yeah, but it's almost, I'm not sure if this is the best comparison, but it feels almost like if you were writing an essay and you were rambling a while and you realize you're reaching the word limit, and then you're quickly trying to conclude everything, and then you're just repeating certain phrases quickly.
Oh, that doesn't sound at all like my monologues on this podcast.
I don't know, just felt a bit like that. Oh, right. What's the theme of this whole series? Wrath. Right. Right. Better make that clear. So, one little thing, though, I just wanted to... I don't know why it made me... well, not curious, but kind of gave me some pause. But page 56, the last 3 panels.
Yes.
I just find the last 2 kind of interesting because... because this is a typical thing. Otherwise, we see like the same background and then the character moving. But he disappears in the second panel, and the third panel is just identical to the second one of those. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting choice there. Because, they could have had a little bit more of him in the second panel. Okay, then he's there, and now he's gone. But just kind of that last panel gives this kind of pause, this little break. Just like really kind of linger.
Yeah.
So again, nothing like good or that it was or like nothing, not that it was like anything bad or like amazingly good. But it was such a simple economic thing to do as well, just copy paste.
Yeah, well, I mean, I doubt they're like, oh shit, we still need a panel, so let's, oh god, shit, what do we do? The writer wrote 5 panels. Oh, I only have 4. Shit, what do we? Just copy paste the last one. I mean, obviously, if they would have, I mean, if they wanted to have 4 panels, they would have just made the top or the bottom 2 a little bit wider to fill out the space. But no, what they're doing here is it's it's also a cinematic tool of just holding on a person walking into the sunset.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yes.
That's what it is, or the sunrise or sunset or whatever it is there. But it's just to show the vastness and the isolation that he's feeling in it, and it's a good tool, which is just interesting the way that they show it on. Because you can do this exact same thing in film, and they have done it where you have a person walking across a desert or something like that, and you cross fade at different points where the person is. So you have it, like, of course, really close, and then further away, and then even further away so you can't see him. Then you hold on that for a long time, then you fade to black usually, or fade to white, or whatever you're going to do. And I feel like it's an interesting way of doing it here in comics too, where you just, you have like 2 panels of just emptiness to show how barren the salt fields or whatever they call it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, it's just kind of, I always like it when a simple thing kind of, not that it gets me out of the comic, but makes me kind of like, that was an interesting choice. Yeah, we have all these cool, big splash pages with demons and blood and like fighting, and it's like, 2 repeated panels. But yeah. Oh, one little thing, speaking of splash pages and stuff. Page 58 with the big...
Herder.
Yes. Hold the door. No, but my little thing here is just, and this isn't like, oh, I'm gonna dock points or anything for it, but for like a violent, bloodthirsty horde, they're really well organized. Again, it's not like it's a
Well,
bad
yeah.
thing. It helps like with perspective and such, but it's just kind of like, wow, it's super straight, and the blank background of salt just makes these like lines even more noticeable. I don't know. I still feel thematically that it maybe fits these kinds of creatures, but maybe that's me being.
Really, I thought it fit. I felt like it fits them even better.
How so?
Well, I mean, what if Herder is actually a good leader, a good king? So much so that he can actually keep these people in line, literally. So, for people who haven't seen this panel, he's Herder. We see from behind Herder as he's talking to his army, and the army is in like perfectly cut cubes or like squares, kind of like an army, you know, like a Roman legion, and it just spans over the entire horizon. You can just kind of all the way to the horizon. You can kind of see just people standing in these squares. And yeah, no, but I'm serious though. Like, what if he is actually a good leader? I mean, if you see how Humongous leads his demons, they're just, you know, running around doing whatever they feel like, and they're just like clamoring above each other and stuff like that, and not really organized and not really thinking about the other person. But maybe that's something to be said about Herder, that he actually has his troops under control, and maybe that's why Humongous wanted the Eternal Warrior to go kill him, because it was actually a threat.
Yeah, I guess I repeat myself. So Pale Herder did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I suppose. I mean, as you said, it also works as a contrast, you know, so it's not just two hordes, but I don't know. I guess it feels very. I guess yes, like I've said, it's just the visuals of it all. You know, this very asymmetrical leader, you know, in terms of design, and then just having it be so like perfectly cut. I guess I would have just liked a little bit more disarray. But again, it's not like I'm docking points or anything. Like if this would take it from a 5 to a 4, you know, that's not it. But yeah, I guess something I noticed when I saw it as well. It's kind of like, huh, he really has his men in line. Oh, another thing I really liked when the page 60, when the guy gets shot. I love the sound effect is behind him, because it just gives me the impression that, yeah, of course the sound effect is behind him, because, you know, the shot was from far away. But it's just little things like that, because the whole having a sound effect, you know, like in a comic is such an abstract concept. You're just there to kind of help illustrate, you know, what a sense in the comic, since all we have is the visual.
Yeah, and we have still visuals. That's the thing. I mean, like, even in the panel right afterwards, you see the whoomp, and it just, again, just strengthens the idea that he has just fallen. It's not like he's lying there.
Exactly. With some help of the blood trail after him as well, of course.
Yeah, I think that's more brain chunks.
True. Well, that's something, whatever it is. But yeah, just again, I just like it when there are these little, like I have nothing against, I guess what you could call conservative / traditional comic telling. You know, where it's just like, yeah, it's, you know, one panel after another telling a story from yes, you know, well composed images, you know, very clear. Like, you know, that's like the standard thing should be. But whenever there is something that's just a little bit creative, you know, something that goes beyond, you know, the simple, like this normal stuff, I just love it.
Yeah. All right, let's take a minute to thank our sponsor.
Is your steak too bland? Sauce too spicy? For you vegetarians out there, your vegetables too unappetizing? Worry not, for with Salt Dunes Gourmet Salt, you'll forget about those awful meals and look forward to every time you'll be sticking something in your mouth. Be it a pretzel or salting your own meat, Salt Dunes Gourmet Salt is Pale Herder approved seasoning that even humongous underlings would betray him for.
Issue 13. Gilad and Herder fight. Herder uses a hammer, and Gilad tells him of a fight that he had with a Viking who also wielded a hammer. Gilad explains how he learns more from his deaths than from his many lives, because Gilad is able to learn from his mistakes unlike a normal mortal. Gilad can easily defeat Herder, and does so by cutting his Achilles tendon and then chopping his head with his axe. Gilad rescues his son, and they prepare for the army of Herder's followers that have surrounded him.
No, you're saying this is basically as an issue for Gilad to show off.
Yeah, but also it's kind of interesting just to show that, I don't know, I kind of like this a little bit more just because it really did show how he works and why he is such a skilled fighter. It's just that, yeah, you can learn more from death than from, because those are the ultimate mistakes. You can learn more from your mistakes than you can from your successes, pretty much. And death is like the ultimate mistake that you can make, especially as a warrior. And I feel like it's just interesting to see him like that. I mean, yeah, a lot of people could have thought of like, oh, well, obviously a hammer makes you tired. But yeah, I thought this was interesting. It was much better than just having a normal fight between the two of them where he just dodges his hammer and then slices his Achilles tendons and then he wins. I mean, it was more interesting
absolutely.
that way.
And again, that is kind of what I like about him. I mean, it's kind of a bit of the concept of like the Avatar state in Avatar. It's not so much of like, he has this boost of power. It's rather all this knowledge. Like, it's not so much that he gets like a rise in his stats. It's just now he knows all of these techniques and things he's learned in past lives. And the same thing here, he has a rare privilege of being able to learn from, as you said, the ultimate mistake. And it works really well. It's as you said, if it was just him being a badass, like without all of that, it would just be a bit boring. But it showcases, this is why he is the eternal warrior and why he actually is a warrior.
Right.
Also, I couldn't help. So I had two Family Guy references I thought of this time. One was with the whole wrath thing I mentioned. With he said it. And then with that one demon who like spits on him, then he shoots the other guy instead.
Yeah.
Reminds me of an episode where they're like in prison and the prison guard calls Peter forward, but then they beat up Cleveland instead. Next time, that will be you. Well, why wasn't it him this time? Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw him shooting that other guy.
But you know why he did it, right?
Ooh, Gilad or the Family Guy?
Well, Gilad.
Yeah. I mean, it's to scare him. So, and then, then to mark him with the hot...
I mean, obviously he just... Yeah, so you can mark him so you can give him even something even worse than just an instant headshot kill.
Oh, yeah, no, certainly. But still, I just couldn't help but think of it that way. Like this volume, surprisingly, I had a lot of good laughs.
I don't understand how you can laugh at a comic book.
We discussed it, but I do. Like, especially here where you do have the page, like you have the whole, turn the page punchline.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just dead inside. I don't know. That's probably the answer. I'm just dead inside.
Well, it's kind of like that. Isn't that the whole thing you say when you only meet assholes, you're the asshole. So maybe it's like when you find everything unfunny, you're the unfunny one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my girlfriend does mention me multiple times that I'm very unfunny, so...
Aww,
that's probably just it.
I didn't mean to strike a nerve.
No, it's okay. I have come to terms with it.
Well, it's okay, Chris. I laugh at you all the time.
Yeah, you and everyone else.
Oh.
All right, let's keep moving.
All right, guys, podcast over. I'm too bummed out.
Oh no, that makes two of us.
Oh God, no.
It got worse. I
don't know. Again, yeah, it's found that fun, but again, a cool thing too. And if I don't misremember, doesn't he survive at the end?
Who?
The Spittle or whatever his name was, the guy who gets marked.
I think so.
Wasn't like he kind of like leads the charge at what's called after this issue.
Yeah.
And I think at the point when they were like on top of a pile of bodies, they all just run, and I think he's among them.
Well, I think the problem is it's kind of hard to notice because it's jumping back and forth a lot. But yeah, he is. Yeah, I just scrolled down. Yeah, he is at the front of the line of the people who run away.
See, that to me would be a great seed for, again, a future appearance.
Well, again, I'm pretty sure that was the idea, so that's why they marked him.
Yeah, but it's also nice, and because I don't think Robert Venditti is working at Valiant anymore. So this is just such a great thing for a future writer to do something with.
Yeah, it'll be like in 20 years, someone will have read the old ones and like, oh, I could do that.
I'll be the one person who's like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah. You're the
so for our 1000th episode, Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, remember in episode 95?
Yeah, like, no.
Yeah, no, you remember 95, the Raph Eternal War Hero Volume 3? Had this one guy who, for a few panels, got marked with a burning hot gun. That's the guy. I'm sorry. No, but I mean, this could be cool. I mean, whenever the next time Gila dies, maybe he could notice something like, wait a minute, where is everyone, in the demon lands when he's going to try to go back to life? And then it turns out that guy's in charge, and he's somehow, like, maybe made a deal with Master Dark or something. You can do so many cool things.
This kind of reminds me of the whole, what's that called? The Shadows of Mordor games.
Yes, what was his name? Ratbone or?
Yeah, something like that.
I loved him so much. So much fun. Just a traitor, and I love those kinds of characters. The cowardly traitor guy.
I'm so happy that even though with my my history with that game, I was still able to enjoy it when I finally got to play it.
Yes. Oh man, they did not consider you someone to do what you did.
Well, what did I do? I mean,
well, you're supposed to jump down.
Huh?
You were supposed to jump down. That was the problem, right? That's why. You didn't
no. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the whole part to actually start playing the game. So. To explain.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, I bought the game at some point on Steam.
Sale, I guess.
Yeah, it was some sort of sale, or I got over a Humble Bundle or something like that, and I was like, oh yeah, because I saw that it was on Mac finally. I was like, oh great, so I'm going to download it. And then I started downloading it, and then I had a really shitty internet, like a 15K line, so which was like, I don't know. And so I started downloading it, and then it told me it was going to take 2 days to download it. Or something like that, like a huge amount of time. And I was like, okay, screw this, I'm not doing this. So I took my computer along to my parents' house, and they have a much faster line, like a 100K line. And so I connect everything, I bring everything along, have my Mac Mini along, ready to download, and I didn't take my HDMI cable along, assuming that my parents would have an HDMI cable somewhere in the house. They don't. So I didn't download anything. That just kind of let it go. I finally got faster internet. I finally downloaded it. It took me like 6 or 7 hours to download the game. Started the game up, and it told me that it can't run on my Mac because it's not good enough. So I put down all the settings. So it was like basically like the shittiest thing ever. And I start playing it, and it just looks like shit, and it does not work. It's still laggy as hell. So I'm like, screw this. I'm not playing this. A couple of months later, I see the game on sale at a GameStop. I bought it like secondhand for like 10 euros or something like that, like really cheap. So I just bought it, Game of the Year edition, whatever it was, and then had it as a PlayStation game. So I played it on the PlayStation 4, and then I finally played it. And then while I played it, in like the first thing, I jumped down this. You're supposed to jump down a thing.
Yeah, those towers.
Yeah, you start on a tower.
Yeah,
and
it's
you're supposed
towers.
to jump.
Like it's.
You're supposed to climb down it, right?
No, you did the opposite. You're supposed to jump down.
Okay,
you climb down.
Yeah, you're supposed to jump down. I climbed down because I accidentally, I guess, missed it. And it didn't trigger the first mission. So I spent about an hour playing the game trying to find this one commander that wasn't going to get triggered. And oh man, it was horrible.
And you did like all the side quests and stuff, right?
Yes, I did. I did pretty much everything. I wanted to 100% complete it, but some of the challenges at the end are pretty hard. Like this whole thing.
Like you did all those things where you find like all the herbs and
oh yeah, I did all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the minor enemies and stuff, like these like creatures.
Yeah, everything that's missing for my 100% completion is like 2 or 3 trophies. Something like with get a kill from jumping off of 100-foot or 100-yard thing. I don't know, something like that. And then another one where you have to release a certain amount of slaves within a certain amount of time while you're riding on the back of one of those pig things. I don't know. I've tried it a couple of times. I haven't gotten it. I don't have the patience for it. So whatever. Anyway, back to the comic.
I'm sure the listeners want to hear more about your misadventures with getting a game to run.
Well then, let me tell you about now.
No, but yeah, it's
I should start a podcast called Gaming Sucks on the Mac.
Oh, it's so nice to hear that.
Well, I mean, I'm saving up for, a PC finally, so I don't have to play Overwatch on my girlfriend's computer.
Man, to imagine we used to have long debates about Mac versus PC.
Yeah, well, then Steve Jobs died.
Yeah, of course. It's not, it's all makes, there's reasons for it all, but it's just kind of crazy how we change.
I don't think we change. I think the environment changes.
True. But then we change because of the environment.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the comic. I need to finish up. I need to go take my dog for a walk.
All right. But yeah, I mean, it's just, then it becomes just a game, like a video game boss.
Yeah, dodge, strike. Dodge, strike.
Yes. Gilad's been playing Dark Souls.
I'm playing Okami right now. It's pretty fun.
Oh, nice.
I haven't played it before.
I've been playing it, but Binding of Isaac. Finally beat the level.
Yeah. All right, let's start a gaming podcast.
Yes, that is. If there weren't enough comic podcasts out there, there certainly aren't enough gaming ones.
Yeah, we'll be very unique. We'll be 2 white guys talking about our gaming experiences.
Exactly. And how much we hate games.
No, we do it differently. We talk about how much we love games.
So, but yeah, I mean, it is just that. And as you said, if you were to remove the whole, his whole monologue about how he learned from his deaths, this wouldn't be that interesting. I mean, it'd be like, oh yeah, cool, go Gilad. You're so strong and smart.
Right, but we were able to get some backstory here.
Exactly, and explaining what his true power is, so to speak, from this.
His power is learning.
Oh, the way you said that, it sounded like the lamest thing ever.
Well, I mean, it is. That's what it's meant to be. It's like with the whole, like those PSAs that you have at the end of those superhero shows from the 90s.
Exactly. That's what it sounded like. If Eternal Warrior, Valiant actually got like a cartoon series at that time, when they were big.
Yeah.
That would be the thing there. Kids, coming back to life is not my strongest superpower. It's learning from my mistakes.
And if you listen to people who have more experience than you...
It'd be like the cool 90s version of him, too, with his leather jacket.
Yeah. But just like...
Remember, kids, only people who have been blessed by the earth can come back to life.
And if you can't come back to life, you've done something wrong.
Or if you have nanomachines in your body. Or if you're like my brother, who has the souls of the thousands of people inside of him.
If you have the souls of thousands of people inside of him, you can drink as much as you want. But you don't, so don't.
Like I've said, if they ever were to do like sort of like the DC animated universe version of Valiant, I guess know that Armstrong would have been sort of changed to be more of a glutton.
Yeah.
It'd be all about like pastries and things like, ooh,
drinking a lot of soda pop. That's yes. Why his belly gets all big like that, and he gets bloated, and then he has to sleep it off because he's tired. Exactly. Like that one Digimon episode.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I've seen the clips. It's fun.
Ah, it's hilarious.
I've seen another one from there where it was a Digimon that was like a giant bomb.
Yeah, and then became a giant orange.
Yeah, or a like lemon, something like that. Yeah. Like they got recolored him, and I think they removed the fuse as well.
Yeah.
And even the name of him, so he was like Citromon or something, Citrusmon.
Mm.
So take that to Japan, America got a new Digimon. But yeah, it is kind of funny though, like the moment it's just a fight scene, we go on about everything else.
Well, because it's boring. I mean, not boring, but it's just like, I mean, I could have literally explained this entire issue with just they fight. And I feel like I have to do this more and more. I mean, it seems like every single issue, the third issue out of the 4 is pretty much they fight. I mean, I've noticed that when I've been writing my little summaries here, I'm tempted to just have the entire summary be they fight. It must be just a timing thing. The third one of it is just a big battle.
Well, it's the climax.
Yeah.
Issue 14. Gilad drags the head of the pale herder along the dunes, with his son on top of it, both exhausted but pushing forward. Eventually they make it to Humongous, who honors their agreement and lets them pass. Gilad and Caleb finally reconcile, and together they come back to paradise and everything is hunky-dory. I love a happy ending.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised. There wasn't even like a facetious "the end ... question mark.
Yeah. Or like, the suspicious man looking into their like family dinner from the woods or something like that.
No, just a creep.
Yeah. You just hear the there's like this audio, like a sound effect from the bottom, just like.
You had to go a step too far.
I, of course, did.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's...
God,
it also kind of illustrates...
Sorry, but I mean, just for the Ninjak number 23, the 7 blades of Master Dark, I just kind of like scrolled down after at the bottom of the issue on page 128. Doesn't that look like a Quentin Tarantino movie?
I guess it does. See, like he would go for this sort of like homage pastiche thing.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense. I guess it will be the next volume or the one after that.
Yeah.
So, and it makes sense, I mean, we found out about that whole undead monk thing was connected to Master Dark.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like it when they do something other than just a pin-up.
Yeah, me too. All right, so this issue, anticlimactic a little bit. I feel like, I mean, we kind of know that they're going to make it through, but it was kind of weird that they, I guess the dragging of the head might have been a little bit too boring, but I felt the way they did it with the now and before, now and before, now and before was a little bit too confusing.
As per usual.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I mean? Because it's just like he's dragging the head and then suddenly they're fighting again, and then he's dragging the head and then fighting again. And especially, it doesn't help much that, per canon, the two of them don't really know what actually happened. Like they both said that they both thought that they helped the other one drag the head. And so we see both. We see kind of ones where Kalam is stronger and he can he's dragging his father along, and then we also see the one where his father is dragging it along, and it's just kind of weird to kind of see it back and forth like this, especially because you didn't really know, because it even says it's my turn to carry you. You're also like, oh, so he now is suddenly feeling much better and is carrying him, or I don't know. It was weird. It was weird.
That's true, but I guess that was kind of to imply that they are supporting each other. You know, it's not simply a father saving his son, but a son helping his father.
Yeah.
So, but it's, I mean, and it's one of those things where we know at least Gilad's gonna make it out alive. But the way to immediately, you know, from the cliffhanger last issue, way to immediately remove any tension by showing him dragging the head already.
Right.
And again, it's not like it's a bad thing in general, but it's just because in some ways, it's like you might as well cut the fake tension, but still, it just feels kind of like, oh, okay.
Well, that's what I think. I think maybe it was at first written with the fight happening in one go and then the dragging happening in the second go, and then during the editing phase, the pages were moved back and forth to make it to break it up a little bit. That's what I think.
Sorry, I don't know why this issue I was just filled with references in my head.
You watch too much Family Guy, man.
No, it wasn't Family Guy this time. So it was SpongeBob.
Jesus.
The old pioneers used to ride these babies for miles.
Oh, God.
I know it's not even a boulder or rock, as he was very stringent about.
And look, they did that thing again, the double panel.
Oh, wait, which page?
120. It's almost like it takes two panels to get back to the land of the dead.
Clever. I didn't even
notice that. It's like it's a loading screen.
Yes. Put on some gaming tip in loading.
Yeah, and a model of a monster that you can turn.
Yes.
Because you're not allowed to make a game on the loading screen because Capcom has copyrighted that.
Right. Damn.
Was that Capcom or something? Yeah.
Was it Bandai Namco? Because I know it was those like Dragon Ball games that kind of started it.
Yeah. That's it. That must have been it then, because I'm playing the HD remastered version of Okami, and that is Capcom. And we were wondering, because there is this game that you can play on the loading screen with the pause. So if you press the button at the same time when the pause appear, and you do a full line of it, you get an item. And it wasn't working on the HD remastered version, so I was thinking it must have been after they copyrighted that game idea, I guess. So maybe it was Bandai Namco instead.
So yeah. So I think so, because it was the Dragon Ball thing that was like the, I don't know about famous one, but it's the ones that people remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the other thing I couldn't help but laugh. Again, for being a non-comedy book, I had some of my best laughs reading this one.
Yeah, Namco Bandai. I just Googled it.
All right.
However, on November 27th, 2015, it expired.
Oh, I guess Capcom didn't get the memo for Okami.
I guess not. Maybe it was already in development or something. Oh well. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but again, this is the kind of thing here too. I feel almost not that it's I mean, I'm kind of glad that Gilad got cut a break a bit
Mm-hmm.
because I feel sometimes, especially in like Marvel and DC, I feel the writers go a bit like too overboard with like making life hell for their protagonists. It's just like, ah, come on, really? You had to kill another family member?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you had to remove their powers again, or oh, you had to make their love interest break up with them or something.
Well, of course, if there's no drama, why would we keep reading?
Yeah, no, but you gotta have some. You gotta give them a break sometimes, because otherwise you get apathetic, and that makes it the next time something happens even stronger.
Yeah, it's like when my girlfriend and I were watching a lot of these, like we were watching a lot of Buffy and this kind of stuff. Like we were binging all that kind of stuff, and the episodes always ended with something more horrible happening. It was never like you think like, oh, it's all happy, everything's good, but then you have like Buffy walks up to her room and then she goes upstairs and then she sees angels there. And then it's all like, oh my God, you're here. And then the episode ends. Or, she comes home and her mom's dead, that kind of stuff, and we got so into that then one time we were watching Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and at the end of the first episode, she kind of goes upstairs to tell Salem how the day was, and then I was just sitting there going like, oh God, what's going to happen? And I was like, nothing happened. I mean, it's just like, she just went upstairs and told Salem how her day was, and I was like, oh, I guess this is a different type of show then. But it's so crazy how huh?
The new Netflix one?
No, oh God, no. That one is horrible.
Okay, I haven't seen it, so I was wondering.
No, I mean, I was kind of sleeping while we were watching it because I was just so tired. But my girlfriend watched it because she's a huge Sabrina fan, and oh my God, the stuff that I saw from it, it's nightmare inducing. And it's just it's gone like the exact opposite of what Sabrina the Teenage Witch used to be. I mean, it did to Sabrina what Riverdale did to Archie, but just so much more. And again, I didn't really watch much of it, but my girlfriend kind of gave me the lowdown of it and just kind of said she does not want to continue watching it. We watched the first episode, or she watched the first episode, and it's just too much. They tried way too hard to make it dark and dreary, and it just feels so disingenuous. I mean,
and I heard that Salem doesn't talk. And I heard Salem doesn't talk.
Oh, he doesn't? I don't know.
So that, if anything, is the drop-off point.
I don't know. I mean, if you, it's just a little bit too spoopy for me.
Are you pretending to be a girl in an online chat room against Salem? I like the attention.
Yeah, see that? I mean, we actually, after we watched the Sabrina, or she watched the Sabrina episode, I kind of pulled out the one of because we have the entire box set of the original TV show.
I didn't know that.
You don't know that? I got that for her birthday one time.
Oh, damn, that show was so good.
It was so good, and we've binged it multiple times. Or she's binged it multiple times. It's her sick day show. So when she has a sick day, she just watches it the entire time. But yeah, anyway, so just to finish up this issue, yeah, nothing bad happens. I mean, it literally ends with a Norman Rockwell-like painting of them sitting around the table, everyone smiling, everyone happy, everyone eating, and it literally just ends there. This is like the perfect ending. This is how movies used to end in the 90s when they didn't have to become franchises.
Yes.
I mean, now movies have the same
Man.
thing. Yeah, I mean, now movies have to do the same thing. It's always like, let's set up the next one. Even if we're not going to get a sequel, I'm looking at you, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
No, it was just planning really far ahead for the Netflix adaptation.
Right.
The only thing I'm a bit disappointed with the ending here is, I mean, if it's going to be this cheesy anyways, I kind of wish they had a better line for Gilad at the end. Because the whole thing with hungry, famished, for anything that will take away the taste of salt. It's like, no, you should have said something about like anything other than salt or something like that. Like, please don't salt the meal today. I don't know, get something more
I
like
love
that.
how,
It's
I love how
like,
you want something better,
no,
but then the
salt is
lines
very common in cooking.
that you're giving are actually really bad.
I'm sorry, you broke up. I didn't hear you.
No, I'm just saying that I think it's funny how you're saying that the line is really bad, but the lines that you were giving are even worse.
Or worse. They're just suggestions, A more experienced writer would come up with something better,
I mean, it's just like, hold the salt, please.
That was good, though. I like that one.
That one would be better. Like, are you hungry? Yes, but hold the salt, please. Done.
Yes, there we go. See, that's why you're the writer and I'm the artist, Chris.
I am not the writer. I am a salary man who goes to a 9-to-5 job and hates his life. So I guess I am I'm a part-time writer if I hate my life already. Yay.
No, but that's the thing.
Well,
I just felt it needed something there.
I mean, he ends it. I mean, that's not his last line. The end is all about Ohana. Yeah, he talks about, like, all of us together, our family.
Yep. That was good. So...
I mean, you can just hear the music immediately starting with the black screen and then the credits rolling.
Exactly.
Can you see it? Like, all of us together, our family. Directed by, written by. Yeah. And everyone kind of sits there and wonders if they should get up or if there's like some sort of after credits sequence.
Yeah, I am
but
happy
you know what it's
with
going to be?
those.
It's going to be that spittle guy coming up, like standing up and it's like, and now we plan our revenge.
No, it has him whimpering, kind of like, oh, he's so angry. And then someone comes up behind him offering him a deal. And it's like, Master Dark.
Yeah. It's like, I heard you have a new enemy. And he turns around and this Master Dark's like, I think I can help you with that.
Honestly, that kind of makes me wonder, is that environment in the dead side?
Well, wasn't that the question last time, too, that we didn't really know if it was?
Yeah, if it's separate from it, or... Which is kind of an odd thing. Man. Maybe it's explaining
Maybe it's like Dante's Inferno, where it has multiple levels of hell.
Maybe. But I've heard that the new Shadow Man's really good. Yeah, I should get into that.
Well, if only maybe Shadow Man was around more and we could find out more, but no one liked him.
No, but apparently the new one's pretty good.
Okay.
At least from what I've been seeing, like, just the little I see of Valiant discussion.
Can I mention that on the table there is actually salt?
Yeah, that's the thing, should have been something like, should have been someone like giving it to Caleb and he'd be like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm good.
But here's my question. Where do the ingredients come from?
Magic. I mean, they're living in paradise. I mean, there's much more other questions that you should ask. Like, I guess where the food comes from is a pretty good idea.
Well, we did the first volume. I remember we did discuss why the dog is there.
Right. It was his favorite dog.
Yeah, no, but it was just kind of because the children makes sense. Like, his DNA, if it has the whole power of immortality.
Oh my God, he fucked a dog.
Well, it's a different time. It was the olden days, Chris.
It's the olden days.
Which is also what makes me curious about his wife.
Yeah, I know. Interracial couples is weird. It was the olden days, Humphrey.
Oh. Well. But yeah, I mean...
yeah. Well, that was the thing, wasn't it? It was always his favorites, which was really weird. I mean, maybe even God... Look, even God or even the Earth knew that it would be really awkward if he had multiple wives there. I mean, it's awkward enough that the kids are there, but, at least one wife. That's okay.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I mean, that's the end of the volume.
And the end of the Eternal Warrior.
He feels wrath no longer.
He's wrathless.
Rathalos.
Okay, now you're just saying words that sound similar.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking of Monster Hunter.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I think I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. So
Yeah,
green
same.
light.
Oh, of course, green light. If you're this far, you might as well finish it.
Yeah, I mean, this ties it up very well. I mean, it's almost like a sickeningly sweet conclusion. Like, usually there would be at least something else as well, you know? Just something to...
Again, there's an after credit sequence, begging to happen.
Yeah, like it should have been just one page after this or something, or like a panel at the bottom, or something earlier, making it clear that, okay, something's up.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious when he's gonna come back, if that's depicted anywhere.
Wouldn't it have been awesome if like something like you could see, what was it, the dying one? Like in his new, isn't he like that woman now?
Yeah, in that suburb or something.
Yeah, wouldn't it be amazing if she kind of got into the Visigoth camp? And you can kind of like see her just like arriving there.
Oh, that would be something, yeah.
Just something
or
like
if nothing
that.
else, or if nothing else, maybe to make it a bit more not so on point. That Indian servant of hers.
Yeah.
Because then it'd be like, like maybe he, because that might have been a smart thing to think of, like, because just like Gila, the dying one has all this experience of death and history.
Yeah.
So they would probably, okay, we know that these are the close ones. So send spies after Ninjak, Livewire, and Auric. Something like that. But I guess it might not be their goal anymore, because as they learned from the Labyrinth, it wasn't, I mean, they got data, but not quite the secret he needed.
Yeah.
So maybe he has a different plan now. Man, but I really like that character. It's kind of a bit like the Master from Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of just have it be someone different each time, and so like whatever you feel like.
If ever the actor asks for too much money, you can just kick him out.
If they ask for so much money that you have to kick them out off screen.
Right.
No, but but also the whole thing, as we mentioned, the whole like it would work so well just for contrivances. But the next time the dying one dies, they get into a character we know already.
Right, that was the question that we had, if it was someone who's about to die or whatever that reason was, how he picks his people.
Yeah, I mean, it'd just be cool if it was some character like...
That would be a nice way to do that whole typical thing that you have in superhero comics of, like, friends fighting each other.
True.
Because then you can have, like, well, it's not really Auric who I'm fighting. And then he has to kill Auric, but he has to do it in a way that kills the soul, but then Auric comes back. Like one of those things where it's like a really almost fatal wound that he dies for like a second, but then comes back to life. It's one of those like cheap things that they do in comics sometimes.
Okay, Auric, this is gonna get weird. I'm going to kill you, but then Ivar is gonna take me back in time. I'm gonna impregnate your mother, so you have my DNA in you, and then we'll both fight ourselves way out of the paradise to be alive again.
Sounds like a good plan. Let's do it. All right, break.
But again, I'm just love this universe, because as of right now, it's all very self-contained, but the concepts are growing to the point where we can have these fun discussions like with Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
In terms of like, but what if this character interacted? Oh yeah, or like who would win in this battle? Like, man, I'm a bit. Once I start to like getting settled here more, I think I'm gonna start catching up on the comics. Because I just really want to know what's going on right now. So I feel so behind with everything. No, but yeah, I mean, we gave our scores. Should we leave it there?
Yeah, you can discuss this episode on Reddit. You can tweet Humphrey, or you can follow us on Facebook. Also, all of our episodes are available on our hosting site, Podbean. Links are in the show notes. Catch us next time for
Bloodshot USA. 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 USA.
Is it actually 3 USA, or is it just one?
No, that was me trying to be funny.
Emphasis on the trying.